What's up, guys? So, before we get into the business today, I want to clear up some stuff from yesterday, talking about Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, right? Basically, I'll leave it at this. Do I see them being good in the future? Yes. Just not this year. And then maybe after they've come into the division, he's learned the teams better. They've gotten the snot beat out of them a couple of times. I think they'll pick themselves up by their bootstraps and they'll get to work and they'll come out and they'll be a winning football team. I just don't see that happening this year. Like I said yesterday, I think they're going to get punched in the mouth week 3 and not really going to be able to get back up after that. Pretty boy mentality going into the season is kind of all I see from Russell Wilson, and I think it's going to be a wake-up call, and I'll just leave it at that. So today we're going to be breaking down the AFC South, and whenever I was statting these teams out, it was interesting because I had the Titans and the Colts both winning 9 games. Then I had the Texans and the Jaguars both winning 6 games. However, I'd give the tiebreaker in that division to the Titans over the Colts because better coaching. Mike Vrabel, he's almost on another tier of coaching. And one of the things which I don't necessarily enjoy watching any of the teams in this division play, Texans should be a little bit more fun this year. Colts were interesting last year just because of the narrative around them. Jonathan Taylor starting to go off. And, Carson Wentz, would he actually do it? Would he win? Which we all know he didn't. And then the Titans. I enjoy watching the Titans because whenever you watch a Titans game, it honestly feels like you're watching almost a game of chess. Mike Vrabel, he's a great coach, and he makes adjustments during the game. He gives that team the best chance to win every week, no matter who they play. He's going to go in there, he's going to come with a game plan, and he's going to change that game plan depending on what goes down in that ball game. And he's not going to wait until halftime to make those adjustments. He's going to start making adjustments as soon as he can. Now, I want to talk real quick about Treylon Burks on that team because I was interested after they drafted him, and we all know they got rid of A.J. Brown, and I was kind of thinking at first, that's a sleeper rookie right there. Not too many people were necessarily high on him, thinking more about the, Chris Olaves, the Drake Londons, and, those other rookie wide receivers. But Drake London, being with the Falcons and Marcus Mariota is that team's quarterback, I don't see how he does much of anything. Really, anyone on that team, I don't see how they do anything this year. But anyways, I figured Treylon Burks could step into that A.J. Brown role. He's a large guy, very physical. Just kind of thinking maybe if he's less injury prone, he could even come in and be a better version of A.J. Brown, have an incredible rookie season in which we're getting, more and more used to seeing these rookie wide receivers come in and do something big. However, as it gets closer to season, I'm sort of still questioning, just because we've heard all the reports on the asthma and all that other goofy stuff. Maybe even questioning his work ethic. Is he willing and wanting to win? And who knows right now? There was a bunch of weird and goofy stuff coming out last year about Jamar Chase not being able to catch the ball. But it's one of those things where we'll just have to wait until the season actually gets here to see what he's made of. Which is interesting because we're also going to talk about the Colts. And last year, before the season started, I was big on Jonathan Taylor. And then, training camp start, we're getting closer to season. We get to, the preseason, and Carson Wentz I don't know if you guys remember this, he broke his foot, and then pretty sure it was their starting left tackle broke his foot. It was one of those linemen, one of their good linemen, broke his foot. And so I'd kind of backed off on Jonathan Taylor. I thought, I'm not going to draft him. I'll see what he does, and I'll hopefully have some things work out to where I can make a trade for him, because I was still pretty high on him. I just didn't want to draft him. I was too unsure. And well, sure enough, as it gets further into the season and JT starts taking off more and more, I'm lucky enough to have Alvin Kamara go off for about 36 fantasy points against the Saints. And so instantly after that, I made a package deal trade, and I won't say I necessarily regret it, because every week after I had a higher total points from my two players that I got in return, but I traded Alvin Kamara after his 36-point game for Jonathan Taylor. I also had in that Deebo Samuel for Stephon Diggs. So my two players were Alvin Kamara and Deebo Samuel for Jonathan Taylor and Stephon Diggs. Now, Jonathan Taylor essentially made up for everything Alvin Kamara did the rest of the season and then some. Alvin Kamara even missed a few games after that. Was Deebo a little questionable? Yes, but overall, if I took the totals of my two players I got in return, I still outscored those other two players each week. So, was it a good trade? Yes. I will be looking for trades of the same type this season. I think Treylon Burks could be one of those type of trades. We get into the season, there's a lot of doubt around him right now. Asthma is something you can strengthen your lungs. You can deal with it better. Essentially, if you're conditioning better, you're getting more into football shape. You can take care of that side of things. And the work ethic, who knows? We hear so many things around this time, differentiating between what's true and what's false, almost impossible. But I think that Treylon Burks, we could be looking at a guy that, like I did with Jonathan Taylor last year, who I'm just going to wait, and I'm not going to draft him anywhere. In these redraft leagues, that is. I'm not going to draft him anywhere, and I'm going to see exactly what he does. And then, if I start feeling like he's starting to take off a little bit, he's starting to gain momentum, and I've got a player that I think, that was really kind of luck. I could sell this. Well, I might be making some moves for Treylon Burks this season. Some trade moves. Now, moving on to the Colts, we already talked about who kind of this year's JT could be in that sense, fantasy-wise, of who's a guy that I won't be drafting, but I'll potentially be looking at, watching the whole season, seeing when I can make a move for. Kind of answered that question with Treylon Burks and tied that all around. Now, I think that they will win 9 games because, what they win last year, it was 8 or 9 games. And that was with Carson Wentz. I think Matt Ryan, older but still a better quarterback. You give him those weapons like Michael Pittman around there, Jonathan Taylor, some of those guys. I think that, 9 might be cutting it short. But overall, both of these teams, the Titans and the Colts, they've got some pretty tough matchups. So 9 wins, pretty good overall. Then the Texans, I've got them at 6 wins. And yesterday I talked a little bit about Davis Mills. Now, last year was his rookie season, and I talked about how I'm kind of excited. I hope that they, stick with Davis Mills. They don't make any trades for another quarterback. One of those reasons is last year, Davis Mills had a completion percentage of 66.8%. He had a 5-game stretch there where he had 33 completions and then went down to 6 completions, then 29, 23, 29, and then 21. That was all basically in the middle of the season. Now, the rest of the season, it wasn't necessarily that consistent, but, there was 21 sprinkled in here and there, and kind of like how there's a 6 right at the beginning of this. Just some lower games, some higher games, but none were as consistent as this streak right here. What I want to focus on, though, is that completion percentage, 66.8%. Now, just talking about the other quarterbacks in this division, I went and looked up their rookie year completion percentages. The Titans. Now, I know that Ryan Tannehill wasn't with the Titans as a rookie. His completion percentage with the Dolphins, though, as a rookie, was 58.3%. Compare that to Davis Mills, 66.8%. The Colts, we got Matt Ryan. Been to a Super Bowl, big arm. He's had some big yardage seasons. His rookie year, his completion percentage was 61.1%. Compare that to Davis Mills, 66.8%. And then the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, rookie last year as well. This one, it was better than Ryan Tannehill's, but still not the best. 59.6 completion percentage for the Jaguars last year. And we all know about the coaching problems that they had. I don't think that Trevor Lawrence was really set up for success. But still, the talent that he is, we all saw him at Clemson. He was a dog. He did some crazy stuff at Clemson. And I like Trevor Lawrence. He's got legs. He can run. That's old Tammy right there. Me and some buddies, we used to call Trevor Lawrence Tammy. So if you ever hear me talking about Tammy, I'm referring to Trevor Lawrence. And Tammy's got wheels. Tammy can run. He's got those legs on him. He's also got that hair, baby. I love that hair. But other than those legs, that's not really why he was such a high prospect. He was a winner. I think he's one of those guys that has that work ethic. He wants to win. He's not just doing this for a job. He's out there because he feels like he's got to prove himself, especially after last season. He's never really lost in his life. Last season, he lost. He lost big time. And I think he's wanting to turn that around. He's wanting to show people what he's really made of. Now, one thing to talk about with the Jags is I think they're going to win more of those low-scoring games. So last year we saw them win a game against the Bills. Score was 6-9, I'm pretty sure. And, it was kind of shocking. That game, a little bit of a snooze fest, but I'm not going to lie. I watched almost every minute of it because I was just shocked. My jaw was basically on the floor the whole time. I kept on thinking, when is Josh Allen, when are the Bills, when's somebody going to have that, breakout play? And then they just run away with it. It never happened. That defense, they were a line against them. They were a wall against them. They couldn't get through. They couldn't make anything happen. And Josh Allen was going down like crazy. He was getting sacked. He couldn't escape. He couldn't make anything happen. And so I think that, added Christian Kirk, gave him a lot of money. They're going to be a little bit more healthy this year. Hopefully at the running back position with Etienne coming back and James Robinson coming back. And I think that's gonna help them out immensely. I think they're really gonna discover who they are this season. They're gonna have, that coaching is fixed there. They're gonna really get to learn a lot about themselves, how they, handle adversity while being uplifted instead of being torn down. Because what it sounds like is last year they were handling adversity, but they were just being torn down. They weren't ever being lifted up. And I think that's going to change. I think that's going to lead them with a better offense, better mindsets to be able to win more close score, more lowing score games than last year. Another thing I want to point out about the Jaguars is that the first time they played the Titans, in this division, they scored 0 points. credit that to Mike Vrabel, essentially, right? Not just Mike Vrabel. He showed up with a game plan. Obviously, the Jags didn't have a coach that was, equipped to be an NFL coach. And the next time they played them, while the Titans did score about 37 points, the Jags put up 19 points. And so that makes that a little bit more interesting. You see, it's later in the season. They've learned some more. I think that's whenever, after they had lost the head coach already. But it might not have been. So, they go from 0 points against the Titans to 19 points. I like that. I think that that shows growth, even with everything that happened last year. And last year, that's a tough year to grow. Now, credit to Trevor Lawrence as a rookie for taking every opportunity to grow, even in the face of so much adversity last year. But I think that just shows who he is as a man, who he is as a quarterback, who he is as a leader. I think he's got that dog in him. I think he wants to win. However, I still only have them winning 6 games this year, them and the Texans. But, if they win 8, I wouldn't be surprised. If the Texans win 8, I'd be a little bit more shocked, just because I feel like they don't have all those pieces around like the Jaguars do. I don't feel like they're necessarily in more of a winning environment than the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have a better chance than the Texans do. But speaking on the Texans, and we'll probably end with this, and talking about Davis Mills, there was one other quarterback that I looked up the completion percentage for their rookie year, and it's none other than the man we talked about at the beginning of this show, Russell Wilson. His was a 64. Davis Mills was a 66.8, almost a 67. So he's essentially beating Russell Wilson by more than 2 points in percentage, almost 3. And, once again, everybody's speaking about them Broncos, man. Got them as their favorites to win that division, come in second in that division. I just say, no way, Jose. It ain't going to be this year. I think, I talked yesterday about how that week 1 matchup is the Texans versus the Broncos. 66.8 versus 64 as rookies. And why I gave that half a game to the Texans, but I gave the full game to the Broncos, starts to make me wonder, should I just go ahead and give the full game to the Texans? Not give anything to the Broncos, but I won't do that. I think I'll stay the same there, and I think I'll keep the Broncos winning that game. I think I'll keep them starting out 2-0, and then week 3 getting punched in the mouth and never getting back up. That's all for today, guys. Thank you.